Hey guys, unfortunately, there's a active shooter in Maine. He's in Lewiston, Maine. Police believe his name is Robert Card. He's 40 years old. So obviously, if you're anywhere near there, be really careful. They haven't caught him yet. There's 22 dead already confirmed, and many more injured. So unfortunately, in America, this is a common recurrence. In other countries, they're stunned by the level of mass shootings and death and homicides that we have. That's because other countries don't have the anywhere near the amount of guns that we have, and those are stone cold facts. And so the number of guns is directly related to the number of gun homicides, the gun suicides, and mass shootings, confirmed by every study in the world. If you want to kid yourself and you want to lie to yourself, well, you're not alone. A million people lie to themselves all the time about all these different issues, right? People want to get to the position that they are in favor of, whether the facts are helpful or not helpful. And the reality is, there is one common thread. I mean, people are always constantly and I look too. So what is he? Is he white? Is he Muslim? Is he a right winger? Is he a rando? Is it about an office romance or an office disagreement? Is an ex girlfriend? But really, that's not the common theme at all. So we've had for a while we had a string of shootings by Muslim Americans. Now we've had massive string of right wing mass shootings. Before it was randos. A lot of times it's young kids at school who felt like they were outsiders. Not the common theme. Those things do not connect these events. There's one thing that connects them all, which is the weapons. And you say, oh, well, you could kill people with a knife. Yeah, but you can't kill 22 people in Lewiston, Maine with a knife or a shovel or anything else. You kill them with weapons, high-powered weapons that in America we hand out like candy. So again, you can catch any feelings you like if you're a person who's a gun enthusiast and you think, well, I have a lot of fun with my gun. Well, congrats, but that your hobby leads to all these deaths. That's just a fact. It's an indisputable fact. And so 22 more people are dead. Okay, so look, we'll cover more of this obviously on tomorrow's live show. So we do Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. That's when the regular show's on for the Young Turks. You should check it out every day. And so, but so we'll have all the stats. We'll have all, and hopefully they'll have caught them by then, by tomorrow's live show. But guys, in places like Israel and Gaza, they terrorize one another, right? As the Palestinians terrorize the Israelis in other ways terrorize the Palestinians, including what's happening in Gaza today. But you could argue that we're, you know, in a sense, we're dumber than that because we terrorize ourselves. And we just allow it. And if you watch the Young Turks, you know what I'm going to say. The core of the problem is, yeah, it's guns, but you have to go one step back from that. Why do we have so many guns when 97% of Americans want universal background checks and we don't have it? Over 60% of Americans want to ban assault weapons. They're weapons of war. They don't belong in the streets, and they don't belong in the woods either. I mean, if you need an AR-15 to kill a deer, you're the world's worst hunter, and everybody knows that. And then when you ask Republican politicians to justify it, they'll say, "Oh, we need it for shooting feral hogs and vermins." Shooting vermins with an AR-15 is enough justification to allow non-stop mass shootings that terrorize our population and murder our fellow civilians? Of course it's not. That's not the core of the problem. The core of the problem is the effing bribes. So the only reason why you can't pass something that has 97% approval is because some of the politicians are bribed. They're bribed by the NRA. The NRA gets its money from gun manufacturers. The gun manufacturers, let's be honest, they love things like this because it scares the hell out of everybody else. Everybody's going to go out and rush out and buy a gun after this. And guess what's going to happen after that? More gun deaths. And then people are going to be terrorized by that, and they're going to buy more guns. So the gun manufacturers are laughing all the way to the bank. Every time there's a mass shooting like this, the gun manufacturers probably high five and because they're definitely going to make more money from this. So every massacre in America, the gun manufacturers make more money and then take a small portion of those proceeds and give it to well, it used to be bipartisan, but now it's not anymore. Almost all the issues, the donors, the corporate interests buy off both the Republicans and the Democrats, but not this one. The Democrats stopped taking money from the NRA and gun manufacturers, and now it's 100% the criminally corrupt Republican politicians at the national level that that take checks covered in blood and go, yeah, I know the automatic weapons that lead to this. We know that more guns equals more gun homicides and more mass shootings. That's the most verifiable scientific fact you could find. But who cares that your kids are being killed and your family members are being killed? That slimy politician is going to get more campaign donations. And that executive at the weapons manufacturing company is going to make a higher bonus this year. So you guys are the casualties, we all are, and the collateral damage. It's like, when we say, hey, Israel shouldn't drop a bomb on a residential building and kill all those innocent civilians. We, of course, say the same thing about Hamas. They shouldn't go and kill innocent civilians in Gaza, right? But we allow corruption in our country to buy off our politicians, so we can't even pass a law that has 97% approval in a democracy. Because in a lot of ways, it ain't a democracy. It's just corruption defines this current system. And part of the reason why, so like if you're a right winger or MAGA, you're not very likely to agree with me on this. You'll say, no, it was the lack of doors or too many doors or windows or mental health. Yeah, but everybody's got every country has mental health issues. Certain percentage of the population has a certain percentage of the population not only has mental health issues, but is prone, a smaller percentage is prone to violence. Okay. But other countries aren't morons and deeply corrupt and don't just hand every person with a mental health problem an AR-15 and say, do your worst. And that's what we do. We barely check anything before we hand out these weapons like candy. There's no regulations, no checks. Why? Because the Republicans take bribes, bribe after bribe after bribe. Your family members die. What does a Republican politician care? Did you bribe them? Did you give them any money? Then they don't care. So like the guy who just got the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. So he's was for the fake elector scheme. You want to do a coup against America. That's these days in Republican circles, that's like standard operating procedure, right? You hate this country, you want to do a coup against it, you hate democracy. I got it, right? And of course, he hates gay people and things, so they were going to ruin democracy. No, Mike Johnson, you do ruin democracy. But why am I bringing that up now? But that's not what really motivates Mike Johnson, either one of those things. What he really wants to do, as he explained in an interview a couple of years back, is cut Social Security and Medicare, maybe even end Social Security and Medicare. Why? Because his donors are incredibly rich and they don't want to pay for Social Security and Medicare, and they don't care about you at all. They're like, and in fact, your retirement accounts are a nice little piggy bank for them. And they're looking for a way to get those criminally corrupt politicians to take your Social Security and Medicare money and funnel over them. And then you're lucky if you don't get shot by one of their donors, right? And then they'd like to start broader wars, probably drag Iran into the war and the conflict. Why? Because defense contractors get paid, oil companies get paid, everybody gets paid, and we all get killed. So we're all in the middle of a shooting gallery. We're all terrorized by it. And it's our scumbag politicians who allow all of it. And then, by the way, mainstream media is generally on my side on this issue. So, I don't have a critique of how they cover guns, although they're very mild, obviously, and they don't say any of the correct things that I just said about how the politicians are the real problem, because they got to kiss the ass of the politicians. They need access to them. What do you need access to lying, slimy politicians for anyway? But they think they do, and so they don't tell you the root cause of it. But overall, they're outraged by it, and they don't really love weapons, but and they prefer gun control. So I'm honest about that. So does that make the mainstream media good guys? No, because you never ever discuss the core of the problem, which is how all of your beloved politician friends are all corrupt. They all do everything everything based on the bribes and nothing based on policy or principles or ideology. We needed for shooting feral hogs. And you buy that load of crap instead of the check that he got? Why didn't you ever tell the American people? We did a story today on the Young Turks. Check it out every day, 6 to 8 p.m. All we do is tell truth. So we did a story about how mainstream media has defense contractor lobbyists all over there, and they never identify them as lobbyists for defense contractors. And they go on there and they're like, well, Iran is a real problem. Iran, we have to think about attacking. We got to protect ourselves by starting a new war. Oh, you're going to get paid a gazillion dollars from your defense contractor for doing that propaganda on air. Did the mainstream media guys ever warn anybody about that? No. Did they ever warn, hey, the politicians we have on are slimy liars and they all get bribed to screw you over? Did they ever say that? No, they never say that. And then they wonder how they lost the American people and how they lost faith. That's why right now, the trust in media used to be at 72% back in the 1970s. Now it's down to 32%. 2/3 of the country says, we don't believe a word the media says. Why do you think that is if you're in media? Because you never tell them about the slimy, lying corporate politicians. And we have eyes. We can see it on our own. So I hope more people don't die in Maine. But if they do, it is definitely the fault of the politicians who absolutely, positively refuse to do anything about gun control. And if you don't do anything about gun control, you can keep making up BS excuses about doors and mental health and whatever the other load of crap Ted Cruz and all the other Republicans are going to make up today. But the bottom line is, no, they're getting paid for this. They're getting paid by those manufacturers who profit immensely off of these massacres. So that's the raw truth. And honestly, until we get someone who's going to change this entire system, they're going to keep on being corrupt just like that. You know what? I'll end on this. Donald Trump, when he was in office after a mass shooting, because, he can't help himself, he had actually a nice moment. You see, fairest show in America. And he came out and he said, all these guys, they take money from the NRA. That's why they don't want to do anything. But I'm going to get something done. Okay. And I was like, really? I bet you changed your mind. But okay. Great. If you did it, I give you credit. The First Step Act, it was criminal justice reform. I give him credit for that. Credit where credit is due. Okay. So did he do anything? No. The next day he came back. He's like, turns out NRA, big supporters of Trump. We're not doing anything. Oh, that's what I thought, bitch. You think Trump's any better? No, he's another corrupt douchebag. Totally, utterly corrupt. Did you know he took $100 million from Sheldon Adelson twice in 2016 and 2020? And then licked Sheldon Adelson's boots. He runs a bunch of casinos in Las Vegas, but mainly Macau. He did. He's passed away now. But he got most of his money from China. And Trump let him bring that money back instead of at 35% at 8%. Passed that law just to help his benefactor. All these corrupt politicians, including Donald Trump, and yes, Democrats, I hate to break your heart, not on this gun control issue, but on everything, almost everything else. The Democrats also take the donor money, also serve corporations, and also don't give a damn about you. I hate to break your heart. If you're MAGA or you're a Nancy Pelosi fan, sorry, but they all take money and they all do exactly what their corporate donors tell them. And that's why our kids die in the streets. So that's the sad reality of it. We're here to bring you the truth, and that is what it is. So I hope to God they catch this guy. The authorities believe it's Robert Card. He's already killed 22. Still out there as I do this live. And I hope nobody else dies. And I hate to break all of your hearts, including the general audience, but no one is going to do anything until we get like a world-changing, country-changing politician that doesn't take the donor money and it can actually and the thing that you need the most is someone who actually gives a damn about you, someone who cares, who actually wants to do something. Yeah, they'll try to crush that guy, right? They try to do that to Bernie, but you need someone like that to change the system entirely, because the way that it is today, they're not going to do anything. All you'll hear is a bunch of yapping from a bunch of lying politicians tonight and tomorrow. Oh, thoughts and prayers. Oh, we're so concerned. Oh, mental health. Oh. And here's what they'll do. Donut. Nothing. like they do every single time. Nothing, nothing, nothing. And we'll go through the same exact thing after the next giant massacre, which unfortunately will be really soon coming to a place very near you. Don't get surprised by it. We need basically a political revolution, not a violent one. That defeats the whole point. A political one that says enough of the corruption and the private financing of elections so they don't work for private interests and money in politics. Otherwise, we're all just victims in waiting as corporate America crushes us, our respect, our dignity, and oftentimes our lives because they'd like to make an extra buck. That's reality. Tomorrow, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, every day, Monday through Friday, Young Turks. Catch the live show. We'll have all the details. Thank you, guys. Be safe.